Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Troy Lambert of Plot Geek Academy, and today we're going to talk about should you avoid adverbs entirely. Now you may notice that the word entirely is actually an adverb. That's because we're going to start this discussion by discussing why you should not avoid adverbs entirely. Now, you'll often hear the advice from editors and others, including Stephen King, that if the word ends in ly, you should just get rid of it. And the reason is that authors tend to overuse adverbs and not use them sparingly in the way they should be used. So, here are some reasons to not avoid using adverbs. Sometimes adverbs can add nuance and precision. Adverbs can help convey subtle differences in action, tone, or emotion that might otherwise be difficult to express. For example, whispered softly can create a different mood than just whispered. Okay? It's subtle, but it's a tiny little nuance and a tiny bit of precision. Secondly, it enhances emotional expression. Adverbs can quickly communicate how a character feels or reacts without lengthy descriptions, like he smiled warmly, which gives immediate insight into the character's emotional state. Now, sure, there are other ways that you can say that, but sometimes saying it simply, like smiled warmly, is the simplest way to communicate this fact to your readers. Third, it improves rhythm and flow. Sometimes the use of adverbs helps maintain the rhythm and cadence of a sentence, making it flow more naturally or fit better within the overall tone of the scene. We often see this in poetry and things like that as well, where adverbs sometimes just fit into the flow better than changing the word to another one. Okay? The next thing is it provides flexibility in dialogue tags. While said and asked are common and effective and often known as the invisible dialogue tags, occasionally using adverbs, for example, she said quietly, can clarify how something is spoken, especially when it contrasts with the situation or the character's usual behavior. Now, sure, you could say she whispered, but whispered is different than saying something quietly. And sometimes we want to see that subtle difference, and that gives you some flexibility that still gives you that almost invisible tag, but it can add a special nuance like we talked about before. And the next reason, the fifth reason, is that adverbs can be useful for quick descriptions in limited space. In shorter works like flash fiction or concise passages, adverbs can efficiently convey action or mood without needing lengthy explanations, helping maintain brevity without sacrificing clarity. It's a really important distinction. We want to have brevity and we want to be clear at the same time. So sometimes that means that we need to use adverbs. Now, adverbs, as I said, are often overused, and so there are plenty of reasons to avoid using adverbs. Now, here are 5 of them, and probably 5 of the most common reasons that we tell you to avoid using adverbs. Adverbs often state the obvious or repeat information already implied by a strong verb. For example, yelled loudly is redundant because yelling is inherently loud. So how would someone yell quietly? It doesn't really work that way, okay? Yelling is loud, so saying yelled loudly is redundant. It weakens prose. Using adverbs too much can make writing feel lazy or unpolished, as they take the place of more vivid or specific verbs that would convey the same meaning more powerfully. For example, ran quickly versus sprinted. Sprinting is a specific type of running quickly, and it's much more easy for the reader to picture sprinted than to picture running quickly. Okay, so it makes your prose just that much stronger, and that's one of the reasons we often tell you not to use adverbs. The third reason is that we often talk about showing versus telling in fiction, and overuse of adverbs shows instead of tells. Writing that relies too heavily on adverbs may tell the reader how to interpret a scene instead of showing them through detailed action or dialogue and it diminishes their immersive experience. We're telling them how to feel. We're telling them exactly what is happening in the scene rather than showing it. So there are times when that brevity makes that adverb necessary, but other times when we really need to show the reader through something that's more detailed rather than adding an adverb. Okay? So just don't use adverbs all the time, especially when it comes to showing instead of telling. Okay, reason number 4, to avoid adverbs. It creates a lack of precision. Sometimes adverbs can be vague instead of specific and fail to provide a clear image. For example, he walked slowly doesn't give as specific of an image as he strolled or he trudged. Okay, same thing we talked about earlier with ran quickly versus sprinted. Sprinted is much more specific. It's much more precise. It gives us a better image of what the character is actually doing versus something general like walked slowly. Okay, strolling and trudging are both different methods of walking slowly, but that convey different meanings and different emotions. Okay. Number 5 reason to avoid using adverbs is it can disrupt tone and pacing. So an excessive use of adverbs might interrupt the rhythm of a sentence or a scene, making the prose feel unnatural or even repetitive. This can slow down your pacing, particularly in action or tension-filled moments where concise dynamic language is more effective. So think about when you're going through an action scene, if somebody throws an ly verb in there, like an adverb in there, man, sometimes it can just pull you right out of that scene. Okay? And you don't want that. You want those short, concise, precise words when you're talking about action scenes. So just like sometimes adverbs can contribute to the pacing of a scene, overusing them can disrupt tone and pacing as well. And that's it. We've given you 5 reasons that you should not avoid using adverbs entirely, and 5 reasons to avoid using adverbs. Now, the balance of this is a very delicate one, and sometimes it takes a professional editor or someone to show you exactly where an adverb works and where it doesn't. But if you can learn this skill, you're going to have fiction that's much tighter, much cleaner, and if you can learn it quickly, you can start improving your fiction right away. Thanks everyone for joining me, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time. And if you like this kind of content, be sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell so you never miss a thing. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.